What's up, y'all? We are back on the Traditional Millennial. I am your host, Brittany Dodson, and today I'm really excited about this episode. Now, I get excited about anybody that comes on here to talk to me, because I love like picking people's brains, getting insight from other people, gleaning from other people, and learning from other people. But I'm excited about this episode today because of how it came about. So, Pat, welcome to the Traditional Millennial.
Man, thank you.
I'm so glad to have you. So glad to have you.
This is really dope. This is really dope. Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited about the conversation that we're going to have, too.
Okay.
I really am. So, I just mentioned that I'm excited because of how this episode came about. So, whenever I'm like thinking about ideas and all this stuff, I have to, we write these notes in our phone and
of course,
try to just make sure we
You're
keep
a note
track
taker.
of it.
I got you.
Yeah, because I'm getting old, so I need to make sure I remember all this stuff. I have a hard time. Yeah. So one night I was up. Matter of fact, it's a note in my phone. I left it alone because I wanted the timestamp to stay in there.
Yeah.
But it was March 22nd at 1:06 in the morning.
Okay.
I was up. And I was just thinking about some things that, I could talk about on the podcast. And I wrote a note in my phone that said the church and the club, both.
Yeah.
And then I put a note in there saying, what musician can I sit down to talk with about this?
Wow.
And I left it. I left it alone. Because I was like, I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And so now I see why they say put stuff in God's hands, let him work it out, let him,
Definitely.
let him figure it out for you and then show you. So I was like, okay, I'm going to leave it alone.
It's funny that you say that, and not to stop you.
Go ahead.
But March 22nd was a pivotal day for me too.
Really?
Yeah. So on March 22nd, so I'm we'll get into the ties and different things of that sort, but I'm very industry minded. I'll say that because of my background and my history, so I know how the industry works and how long I need to wait before release and all of this stuff. So March 22nd, that day, I had a meeting with some reps from Spotify.
Wow. Okay.
Right? And so we were all talking about me and my team. We were all talking about the proper way to release this, the right way to release. And there were so many different dates that were just thrown out that, hey, we'll put it out this date or put it out that day, put it out this date. And I was just confused.
Yeah.
And literally that night, and I don't know, it may have been around the same time.
Yeah.
I'm praying and I'm like, God, like, what do you want me to do? I got all of these different people that are advising me, on what I need to do. And literally, a still small voice was like, what did I say do?
Yeah.
And it was like, all God told me to do was put the music out. So it's not about a strategic plan or, anything of that sort. It's just like, yo, just drop it. And so literally, I text the distributors at that moment. I was like, my guy that distributes my music. I text him and I was like, look, put it out. And as soon as it can be out, drop it. Just whatever their release date is, just let me know when it's out.
Yeah.
But we ain't no strategy, ain't no,
Yeah, we're going to just negate all that.
Yeah, right. We just, let's go.
March 22nd.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Day to remember. That is crazy.
That's insane.
See, that's how I know.
Yeah.
We were supposed to sit down and do this episode.
Yeah.
That is something because even in that, it's just, okay, wait on the Lord, let him talk to you. Be obedient to what he says and do it the way he says do it.
Yes.
And that's exactly how this episode came about. I waited on him. I was like, okay, you'll show me somebody.
Yeah.
And you released your single, and you'll talk about that later.
Right.
You released your single, and it was the commentary behind the single that got my attention.
Right.
You said something in there, and I'm like, dang, I'm supposed to talk to him.
Yeah,
He's
for
the
sure.
Person. He's the person.
For sure, yeah.
And, I went back and forth with myself about reaching out to you because I was like, he just released his single. He's probably busy. I don't know what he has going on, so I'm not going to worry him. I'm not going to worry about it. But then it was like, no, Brittany, I showed you this for a reason.
Definitely.
Reach out to him. All you can do is say yes or no.
Definitely.
And I did, and here you are.
Yeah.
Man, I'm excited. I'm excited now. I'm just really excited. So, Pat, before we get into, digging into, the just nitty-gritty of your life and just different things. Tell us, who is Pat Washington? What is Pat Washington about? Give us a little bit of background, just a little introduction to who you are.
Pat Washington is hard headed. Pat Washington is hard headed. Pat Washington a lot of times kind of gets in the way of himself. Pat Washington, hard headed is just like the greatest word. Not my the elders have always said that. Like, I just did never believe it until I got to the space that I'm in now. It's like, all right, God.
My dad tells me I'm hard.
Let me, yeah, right, yeah, but inside of Pat Washington, there are other, layers. There is, my dad always jokes because when I first started out, I was rapping and I was P Marvelous. I went by the name P Marvelous.
Okay,
and so I was rapping at that point. And then I moved to Pat Produced It.
Okay.
That was who I was. Late teens and through my 20s, producing and playing on the secular side. Of doing that. So I've lived in Dallas, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Jackson, Mississippi. I done had stints in Oklahoma.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just like I was just moving around a lot. I was just trying to, at that particular time, just trying to do whatever I could to what I saw was making it, and in whatever avenue that was. But throughout that avenue, I was able to, kind of link in tough with a lot of major, acts. L.A. Reid, we developed a somewhat relationship just because I was working with artists that he was working with. Zaytoven. He's a major producer. We're even to this day we still have conversations on the phone and different things. I have been mentored from Rico Love, another artist. You know what I'm saying, those different things. And so I've been in spaces where the success is.
What that looks
right, I know what it looks like. And then, of course, a lot of people, and for me, I'm always moving on. And so I don't really just lean on the things that I have done, but I have had successful records to reach, like Billboard and, top urban radio hits, those kind of things. I've been a part of those as well. And now I am in a space where I just call it complete obedience. Like, literally, like I really don't have a roadmap, nor do I really desire to have one. You know what I'm saying? I've always considered myself a strategist, but it's just like I'm tired of being that. And it's just like God, what you want me to do? All right, cool, I'm gonna do it. And now I've been in this space now a little over a year, and I just like it. I like where I'm at. Yeah.
It's funny that you say that. I was at an event a few weeks or so ago, and people ask you these questions about your life and like where you see yourself and where you want to go and all these different things. And I've been telling people, here lately, is that wherever God takes me, wherever He wants me to be, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Whatever He wants me to do,
absolutely,
that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
We can't go wrong with God leading and directing us, So obedience it's everything.
Yes.
That is that's a love language to God for us. Obedience. He just wants us to just trust Him enough, appreciate Him enough to just know that what He tells us is what's best for us.
Yes.
So I love that, Pat, man. I really do.
Yeah.
And especially when you get in certain spaces, man, you gotta be obedient to God. It's almost like if you don't, you feel it.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like God is he's so merciful. He
is.
He gives you these olive branches. He extends Himself to you.
Yes.
But He's gonna leave it up to you.
Yeah,
know?
it's that's very true. In Deuteronomy, chapter 30, somewhere around there, it's he tells them, "I here before you, I place life and death."
Yep. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so this is your choice,
Yep.
your place to make this decision
Yep.
on. Are you gonna choose life or are you gonna choose death?
Yep.
I'm gonna put them both before you, and
That's
you
right.
make the
You
decision.
make the decision. You
Yeah.
got a mountain of blessings and a mountain of curses.
Right.
Like, what do you want to do?
And it is what it is. And I'm
Right.
I'm over here like I got the. I'm gonna choose life for 500.
Thank you. Life for 500, Alex. Yes, every time.
Yeah.
You know, Pat, talking about all of this, I was listening to your video that you put out,
Yeah.
which is single, and you mentioned the words church culture.
Yeah.
Like church culture. And you
Yeah.
were talking about that. So I want you to expound on that a little bit. Like, what is church culture? And then two, since you're in the space that you're in now and you're in a place of obedience to God, how did you break free from, the church culture and conforming to what you saw in church culture and being obedient and doing what you were supposed to do?
Well, so church culture, for me. So I'll say this: I grew up differently than some people. I didn't necessarily grow up in a traditional church, right? I grew up, actually, it was a church called Trumpet and Zion. It was under Apostle Lawrence Braggs. He has since passed, but and in that church, I got a great spiritual understanding, right? I got a great understanding of how to hear from God, how to move and do all those. So foundationally, that was my foundation. I'll say that. And then I moved on to St. Mark. And at St. Mark, it was a different type of learning there. It wasn't so much focused on gifts of the Spirit. It was more so focused on learning the foundational Bible stories and things that most learn like in children's church, in a Baptist church, or you know what I'm saying. And so but that was also really, really good for me to be able to connect the things that I knew spiritually to actual beings in the Bible, which was great. And then after leaving college, I was a musician. So I've played in the Methodist church. I've played in the Baptist church. I've played in the Church of God in Christ. I've been in these spaces. So I have been a part of churches for a long time. And when I say church culture, a lot of times in the black church, when I think and what you're referring to was why I ran for so long. So when I was 19. I remember sitting in a service and having that unction, like, I'm calling you, like you're supposed to be here. I'm sitting on the organ, and there was a moment where I'm playing a chord and my fingers can't move. Wow. I'm stuck on this chord, and it's like, like it was just a really surreal moment, because it was just like, okay, at some point you're gonna have to come from behind this instrument, and come forth. But at that particular time, I'm also, so my parents gave me the freedom to explore a lot of different things, right? So they weren't really super strict on, like, okay, you can't listen to this music, you can't listen to. So for me, I'm hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna put the fitted on, I'm gonna wear the shades, you know what I'm saying? That I like the tattoos. I'm gonna do, you know what I'm saying? And I hate wearing suits. I don't like suits. Like, it was just like all of this was going on, and I was like, God, I can't be no pastor, because the pastor has to do this and they have to speak like this, and this is lame to me. I can't. There's no way I could do that, right? So that was at 19, and in that space, I was just like, God, I'm sorry, but I can't do this. Now, what I will do is I'm gonna help these churches, and I would do that when people would call me to play, and we don't really got a lot of money. I'll come play. You know, let me, and that was my way of like kind of sliding by, just sliding by, and then 2020 happened, and that was COVID, and it was just the world was just in a space of like, I don't really. I just didn't know what was going on. You know, I didn't know what was going on. And for me, I'll never forget it. I had got to a space where I was like, all right, God, well, I know when I do know spiritually when I'm not where I don't know nothing, I can come back to you and do that. So I was praying and I started reading my Bible, and I was doing one of those like Bible in a year kind of things on the Bible app. And I messed around and I ran across Habakkuk 2:2. And Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision, make it plain on tabs, so that whoever reads it runs with it. And I had heard that scripture my entire life. So many times. I heard it my entire life, and I think a lot of times we got to a space where churches, like a lot of pastors and preachers, they used it almost like a like a Christian business seminar, you know. And I was like, okay, cool. So you need to write your plan down, and you need to write it down, and God gonna roll with what it is, and it's gonna. And when I began to read it in context, because this Bible in a Year app requires you to read the full chapter. And as I'm reading it in context, I'm looking at it, and it's just like, wait, God, this ain't got nothing to do with no business plan. This don't have this. This is not, this ain't this. This is you. Habakkuk he wanted a response from you. About what was about to happen, and God was saying, write this vision. This being a very important word there. It was just like, this ain't about your vision. That's right. Write my vision, make it plain, so whoever reads it can run with it. And at that point, it was like, wow. And it came back to me, and it was like, this is why I'm calling you. You know. And my thing, I'll say this as a musician. So here's the thing, being on both sides of this thing, the one thing that I didn't understand that I don't care for at all is the fact that I go to clubs and everything is nice, and the lights are right, and the sound is right, and the music is playing good, and the food is good, and the establishment looks nice, and it's all things beautiful around. And then I go to church and the ceiling leaking, and the sound ain't about nothing, and it's an organ over there that ain't worked in 6 years, And I was just like, God, why? What is going on here? Why is it that your kingdom look like the pit, and the pit look like the kingdom? What is going on? And he began to expose a lot of things, and I started to see. And honestly, I'll say this: I'm personally in a space right now where I battle with the fact that church has been able to capitalize on emotion.
Man, listen.
And what we do as minstrels, plays such a huge part. And how this service moves and how this service rotates. And so I got to a space where I'll even be like, God, is this you? Or is this because I'm noticing that everybody's sitting quiet until I play this chord? But when I go here and when I go there, you know what I'm saying? Or until the preacher get to hooping and hollering. And it was just like, I'm not understanding what's going on. And so I was in that space. And that too, the church culture, it was just like, that was such a turnoff for me. You know what I'm saying? But God was just like, just do what I asked you to do, right? And the more and more I read and the more and more I studied after I accepted my calling, it was just like, God, there's so much stuff in this Bible that has either been taught incorrectly or hasn't been taught at all.
Yep.
And it first it frustrated me, but now it's just a space of like understanding where we could have possibly went wrong, right? Bible says my people perish for their lack of knowledge, right? And knowledge being a thing that you can only gain from a book. And it was just like, okay, so wisdom you can gain from life experience, but knowledge is something that has to be taught in that system. And so right, and so I started to like, I put it back on the musician side. So I think about a song like "Glory, Glory, Hallelujah," right? And I said, why do I know how to play this song? I know how to play this song because I heard somebody else play it. And they heard somebody else play it. And I started thinking, and I said, man, the person that actually made this song, what if we all the way playing this song wrong? Like, what if we was just jacking their song up? but we, because nobody's heard the actual original or went or took the time to listen to the original record. Like, we just out here playing all of these different renditions of this stuff. And then God kind of hints to me like, what if people have been doing this with my word? Right? And so I'm in this upset space because I'm like mad at every pastor in the world. Like, bro, y'all tripping, bro. Like, this is, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can you do this? And the reality hit me, and it was like most preachers and pastors are just regurgitating what they saw. And those people just doing it from what they saw. And those people are doing it from what they saw. It's like, it's so many, scriptures. One comes to mind, and I ain't gonna even say who said it, but I was in the church service, and this particular pastor said, when in business, be as men. The Bible say that. I looked for months. For months. And never found the scripture. Never found the scripture. And I said, this is not in the Bible. No. Where did he get this from? Why was this accepted? And yeah, so yeah, I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna do what I'm not seeing anybody else do it. I'm gonna actually read this thing for real. I'm going to take the time and read it. And honestly, what I have learned. Well, first thing I learned is ain't no way I'm gonna be able to get through this thing and understand it in a lifetime. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. I mess around and I get stuck in the first 2 chapters of Genesis, and it's just like,
tell me about it.
Like, wait,
it's
what?
So much.
yeah,
it's
and
so extensive.
So for me, I when it came to church culture, it was those things. I began to be sick and tired of seeing the same people at the altar crying their heart out, and nothing changing for them. There was no, and then so I started to, look at the word that had been given, and it was like, where's the application? So God is good, and He rose on the 3rd day. What is my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Where is the application in these messages? And I just wasn't seeing it. And even at that particular time, God was like, hey, this is why I called you to this. And knowing me, I'm kind of a cut and dry person, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm just gonna get it to you straight. Yeah. And so that's where,
So that's where
that is church culture.
That is church culture. And I remember hearing you say, you were talking about like just like the lingo. That people use.
Doc.
I'll be like,
man, I hate Doc. I hate that word, Doc. Hey, Doc, what you doing, Doc? I'll be like,
what,
bro? What?
Right. What is this? Like, what are we? And I think a lot of people have taken a lot of these things that they have just made up on all these man-made words, these man-made applications, and these man-made concepts, and they have allowed it to determine how they see God and how they view God's people.
Yeah, it's a very disturbing thing. You know what I'm saying? And I know for me, like, that's why I say I'm at this space now. It's just about being obedient to God. I'm not looking to be invited to nobody's church because they probably not going to invite me after I say the stuff that I got to say. But like God told Moses, "Thou shalt put no other gods before me," and that was a little G. And in that time, the little G gods were things that were created by man.
By other people, that's right.
So the only thing that we have to stand on is God's word.
That's it.
Anything outside of that was created by man is a thing that you ain't supposed to be serving in the first place. So in all reality, whether we like it or not, Baptist is a little G God. Church of God in Christ is a little G God. You know, these are man-made things. And so, you know, the more and more we serve it, and like I say, it's tough. It's tough to digest that, and it's tough to be on that. But it's like, at the end of the day, we're all, you know, in these spaces. And that's why I say, I tend to think God has a sense of humor at some point. And I say, man, these folk gonna die, and they gonna get to heaven. And God gonna say, you niggas been arguing for nothing.
Like, come on, like, just come in, cause y'all just
because y'all was on all this stuff down here, and it was
even matter.
It's such there's such minute details in it, you know, and I think that is a strong trick of the enemy, you know,
division
to be able to just get our attention. I mean, the other day, I'm like I say, I'm gonna be me. I was approached by some Christian Hebrew Israelites. Well, Hebrew Israelites, not Christian Hebrew Israelites. Right. And I literally found myself, and I had to stop myself because I was like, bro, we really having a conversation about whether or not Jesus is white or black.
Like,
and in myself, I said, bro, what are you doing right now, Pat? What are we are we really here right now having this particular conversation? And for me, like, it just was one of those things where it was just like, that right there is very, very trivial.
Yes.
And that is how, you know, because for me, either way, whatever, if he black or white, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that, it is what it is. Yeah. For me, I know what my Bible say, and what my Bible say describes him as a black man. Cool, I'm good. But even within that, it don't matter if he was blue. Like, I'm trying to work towards that. But we want to argue on whether or not I worship a white Jesus. Yeah. And it's like, come on, man. I got a daughter to get to.
I'm telling you. Like,
yeah,
that doesn't even matter.
Yeah, right. But it is what it is.
Yeah, and that's church culture.
Yeah, yes. You
just summed it all up.
Yes, yeah.
So now, something else you said.
Okay.
It stood out to me. You were talking about, because we're gonna fast forward a little bit, because we were just in 2020 and we were dealing with church culture, and you know, your calling, you're not. And you kind of trying to shy away from it and trick God into thinking you were really doing it, but you really weren't doing it. And now we're going to fast forward to 2023. Okay. When you were talking about having to declutter your life so you can get clarity.
Yeah.
And this is really the meat of the conversation. Okay. I want you to kind of dig into that and dig into all of these different spaces you said that you were in, and how that was clouding your judgment, clouding your mind, clouding your decision making. Oh, yeah. And how that affected you. And you know, I want you to kind of maybe help somebody, you know, when we think about making transitions in our lives and breaking from things that we're used to. Sometimes God speaks to us and we listen to his voice right then. But then other times things have to happen, or people have to come, or circumstances have to change for us to redirect our attention to God's voice to do what he's telling us to do. So talk about all that. Talk about that time in your life and how that transition came for you, and what happened at that stage in your life.
So 2023 comes, and first I approach 2023 like I'm about to attack this mug because my last record, Ride Good, I produced that record. It's by Light Skin Keisha and B. Smith. It was a Billboard record. It was like #3 in the nation on urban radio, all of these things. But that had happened a few years back. And it was, the music industry is about what have you done for me lately? And it was like, yo, I'm coming in this thing. I ain't playing this year.
Yeah.
We finna get, I'm about to get another one. And I really want to get 2 or 3 more. This is my plan. This is what I'm saying. And at this point, with it, no arrogance involved when I say this. But after you've put in the time and the work to reach a certain skill level, it becomes very, very hard to do anything underneath a certain standard, right?
Yeah, I get that.
And so I have been writing songs and producing music. I don't know how to make a bad record now at this point. And so I was just in the space, and so I was like, man, like I know that this stuff is gonna be good. I just want it to be great. And so I was working with these artists. I mean, some good stuff. I had got to the point where I was about $2,500 a song working with artists, and it was just really good. It was good money coming in, like all of that stuff was happening. But somewhere between me writing and producing and the records actually coming out, they were just missing. Yeah. And I would listen to it and I'd be like, God, this is not what I wrote. Yeah. This is not what I produced. It didn't come out right. Like, and so what really happened was I encountered a lot of artists with money without the talent for real. Yeah. So they had the money, but it was like I couldn't get out what I was trying to, what I was really hearing in my head. And I was like, God, now I got a standard and this ain't even meeting the standard. I'm supposed to be going above the standard this time. This is not meeting that standard. And so that was January and February. And then I had the feeling and the urge, like, man, I just need to start doing my own stuff. And that feeling, it actually came to me. But it was like, nah, whatever. It's over. You know what I'm saying? And I knew, like I said in the beginning, like I knew how to hear the voice of God and what to trust. Yeah. Within my senses and different things of that sort at a very young age. So I knew this was God telling me, you need to do your own stuff. So I didn't do it. What actually ended up happening was no. I lied. I did say that I was gonna do it. 2 days later, I got approached with a heck of a offer financially. Yeah. 2 days later, I got approached and it was like, hey, look, I'm working with 2 clubs. There was a young lady here, which is really a great friend of mine now, Dr. Patrice Bax. She came to me and was like, hey, Pat, I got a situation. There's 2 clubs here, and I would like you to start coming in and playing at the clubs. And I'm gonna pay you X amount of dollars to do it. Honestly, I think I probably was making like close to like $600 a week at just playing at the clubs, right? So it was like, yo, all right, that's an extra weight. So I ain't even messed up. I ain't gotta work with these artists right now. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna play in the clubs. And then at the time, I was playing for a church in North Little Rock, and I was making $500 a week there. Okay. And then I was leaving that church to go and play at another church where I was making $100 there. Yeah. And so at the point of at the end of my week, I'm looking at $1,400 a week. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, yo, we up. And then every now and then I would still get a client on top of my 9 to 5. So it was like I'm in a really, really good position now. But that first month, I played through that first month, which was May. I played through May, and then I started to kind of notice that my wife was kind of like, we had money, but she just kind of seemed like she wasn't really feeling it. Yeah. And we talked, and she was like, "Yo, you're not really here." Like, my wife is a very understanding woman. She, she's not like trying to stop the dream or nothing like that. But she was just literally like, like you gone a lot. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't get off work until 6, and then when you get here, you close yourself in the room because you gotta learn this music and you gotta, and it was like, okay, or I'm working on something else. It was just a lot of different things because then playing in the clubs, a lot more people saw me, and so now people would call me for a weekend gig, and it's like I had my Saturday. Now I don't have my Saturday no more because I'm playing and I'm doing that. But money is great. And for me, it's like, man, we just had a daughter. We ain't behind on the bills no more. We ain't got to go in the negatives. We don't have to do none of this. And so I was just like, yo, this is great. Like, we really in a great spot. And so I run and I'm trying to, when she tells me this, I try to do better with being around more. So now it's like I've added that as an obligation as well. And so it's like, okay, cool. So I hang out with them for an hour. I do, and I just got to the point where it's like, okay, cool. Time management, which is a great thing. But I was moving and it was just like, okay, well, 5 a.m. I wake up, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna come home, then I'm gonna work on the music until my daughter wake up at 9. When she wake up at 9, I'm gonna hang out with her. But we gotta make sure I get dressed because I gotta get her dropped off to my mama's house by 10:30. 10:30, gotta show up to work by 11. You know what I'm saying? And make sure, like, and it was just like, it was unrealistic. You know what I'm saying? And I was just drained. I felt myself draining. And one morning I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and my truck would not start. And it wouldn't, like, I couldn't get it to do nothing. And this happened to be after I had just left from Nashville working with an artist down that way. And it was just like, it just wouldn't start. And so I took it, got it towed. It's like that was some money. Got it towed to a mechanic. And the mechanic told me that I needed a new motor. And as good as money was, I ain't had no motor money. I ain't had no motor money like that. I didn't. And but what we did was we tried to do what we could to get the motor fixed. Well, I bought that particular motor from a spot, but I took it somewhere else to get it put on. And the labor for that job was $1,500 alone, just the labor without the motor. And so that was $1,500 alone. Well, once the guy finally got it on, we find out that this ain't really a good motor. But I still got to pay this $1,500. It's like, okay, cool. So that's down the drain. And that motor money is kind of there. They gonna help me out, but it ain't really for real. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I then take it back to the place that I got the motor from, and I get them to do it. Well, their fee is $3,500, and it was like, yo, this ain't it. And so now all of the money that I had been, like, you know, kind of saving up and getting, and I'll say this too, one major thing, God has been dealing with me on consistent tithing since 2019, right? And so I have my spurts where I'm consistent and then I don't be consistent, and then and in the space I wasn't intentionally not tithing. I just wasn't thinking about it. But I was looking at all this money I was making. I was like, man, I ain't gave nothing. And once my truck went down, I started to think about that. It was like, crap, I haven't given, you know, and God is just attacking these finances because I haven't been doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so that situation happened, but without the truck, it sit me down because now I can't move around. My wife got a car, but it's like trying to get all of my equipment into this car. It's like, this ain't it. And I was just like, man, I'm just doing too much because right now I'm super exhausted in this space. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm playing in churches where I'm not getting nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm knowing as a minister that that I'm not getting nothing, but I'm here because I'm getting this check. And I knew all along that I needed to be back at my home church, New Life Christian Fellowship. And so I went back there and I was like, hey, like, is there a space for me to come back? And it was like, yeah, there's space for you to come back, but we can't pay you no $5. You know what I'm saying? And so that was a move, and it was like, okay, cool. All right, I ain't gonna worry about it. I'm gonna at least try to get myself back into this space. And then it was like, I was still, now it's like you're not making no money, but you still trying to make all these other things happen. And it was just like, all right, cool. I can't play in the clubs no more. And I had to tell Patrice that, and it was like, that was heartbreaking for me, because it was like, man, I know that, well, first of all, musicians around the city, not all of them are they don't have like the business side always, right? Like sometimes you get some that might show up late or don't want to rehearse or don't, you know what I'm saying? And just going through stuff, going through the motions. And I've never been that person. I've always been, even if I'm not the greatest musician, I'm gonna show up on time. I'm gonna, I'm gonna do what I say I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'm gonna be dependable, right? And so I know that was a very, very strong reason why she wanted me in that space. And I had to leave, which kind of, made things difficult or whatever. But I had to do that for me. It was like, okay, cool. And then the second service I was playing for was just like, yo, man, I can't. Yeah. And when I got to that space, well, let me rewind. During the time when before my truck had went down, I went to a conference in Jackson, Tennessee. And there was a lady there that prophesied to me and was like, you supposed to be off this keyboard up here. I'm seeing you performing. I'm seeing you doing the things that Fred Hammond is doing, right? And so for me, I've been told that my whole life. So I was like, man, she seen a light skinned big dude. And now she want to say I'm Fred Hammond. So this is false prophecy. This ain't it. This ain't, you know what I'm saying? So I just took it in one ear and I was like, all right, whatever. Okay. Yeah. I'll let her have it. Cool. And so, but then fast forward, after I quit the clubs and everything, things started like coming back to me. Wow. And it was like, now I have the clarity to be able to allow God to come in. You know what I'm saying? Because I was so jumbled up that it was like, all right, so where is the space? And don't get me wrong, I would wake up, God, thank you for waking me up this morning. Let today be great. Protect me, protect my children, protect my wife. Cool, doing all this stuff. And I feel like a lot of times we do those prayers and we talk so much and don't sit to wait on a response. We don't sit. All right, cool, God, I need you to do this, and this, this and this. All right, bet, amen. Let's go. And it's just like, and God, like, you gonna let me talk? All right, right. And so, I was, that was happening. But when I was able to get quiet, when it wasn't about it was just down to, I'm going to church on this Sunday, and I'm playing it at my home church, and I'm going to work. And it was like, that's all I'm doing right now. And in those spaces, it was like, okay, I'm getting clarity on this. All right. Now I'm starting to study the Bible, and I'm finding most scriptures that's been taught wrong. And now it's God, all right, here we go again. I know what's going on. But I started to write those down, do all of that stuff. And so then I go to a Walmart in Benton, Arkansas. And I'm in the clothes section because sometimes they be having some heat in there that don't nobody be knowing about. But I'm in the clothes section. I'm just looking around, just kind of seeing the little sweatshirt here, pants here, pants there, that kind of thing. And this old white lady, I don't know her name, she ain't know me or nothing, walks up to me and she says, "Do you know that you're the answer to your problem?" And I was like, she was like, and I don't know what that means, but I'm here to tell you that you're the answer to your problem. And I just started thinking about all the problems I was having. And literally, it was just like, okay, so I'm having an issue. I'm having problems within the church culture because I'm seeing that things are being preached that are not, biblically correct. So that's a problem. Well, you have to fix that by telling them what is correct.
That's right.
It's like, okay, cool. I'm currently frustrated with this music too. My stuff is not coming across like it need to come across. Well, why you ain't doing it? What? And for me, I'll say this too. I think this is not really church culture, but the way that we hear singers in church, there's an expectation for a holler or a runner and it's like I'm not that. Like and so for a long time it was like, man, I can't be no gospel artist because they need me to squall and need me to be. And I'm not on that. I'm not doing that. That's just not. God didn't gift me in that area. I think it's dope, but He didn't give me in that particular area. And it was just like, but what I know I'm effective in is my songwriting ability. It's like, dude, I just need you to do. I've given you this gift. I just need you to do what it is. Earlier in that, I was telling you in chapter 30 of Deuteronomy, when God was giving these instructions, there's a verse there, somewhere between 1 and 15 that says, the things that I'm asking you to do are not hard. They're easy. You know what I'm saying? God is not finna ask you to do something that's outside your wheelhouse. Right. And you're right, because it's right there. I think a lot of times we just get in the way. And so for me, I was just tired of being in the way. And at that moment it was just like, all right, cool. So I started to write the record and I was just like, well, I need this and this, and just certain things just start to just happen and the flow into place. And Mommy Ferocious was just like, bro, whatever you need, I got you. And it's like, oh snap, okay, cool. All right, then my guy Gregatron was like, yeah, man, definitely, I'll help you produce this record. And it was like, what? Like, and and you can go to Nashville. And then my guy Sean Fresh was like, yo, well, if you're going to Nashville, you need somebody to shoot the content. I'm coming with you. And I'm like, yo, God just, he's just putting these pieces together without effort, without me having to do a whole, it ain't stressed me out to do none of the stuff. Like, to make this music hasn't been stressful, even with developing content. Like it's people asking me like, yo, how you doing this with it, man? You just everywhere and it's like, man, when I was everywhere, I felt like I was just all over the place. Now people feel like I'm everywhere, and I'm like, bro, I'm chilling.
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I'm really. Yeah, this is not hard for me. You know. And so, that's that space. Being decluttered. Is a major thing. I think, especially within this society where it's about grind.
Yes.
Team no sleep.
Yes.
Team no. That is a distraction from a demon. I'm just gonna be real about it. And it doesn't line up to what God says, but it don't line up to science either. Right, your body gotta sleep. Yeah. Like you have to. Yeah. You have to, get this amount of rest, and you don't need to be overly cluttered and different things of that sort. And I feel like people have to do the work, which is now where I'm at, where I'm beginning to see. I'm doing this deep dive on the trifling children of Israel.
Oh gosh, they sound like us.
They us. Man, they us for sure.
For real.
But when Joshua is getting ready to cross over the Jordan River, I'll say this: the first thing that really got me was this: Moses got a promise from God that he did not get to see. He did not. And that right there struck me so hard because it was like, in church, spin around because you're going to a new season, do all, but throw your hands in the air and do all, and it was just like, wait, and then for a long time I've always heard that if God said it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen for you, and it was like, no, that don't. God told Moses that he was gonna do this, and Moses didn't get to see that. Right? And so it was like, okay, why didn't Moses get to see it? Moses didn't get to see it because he was mad about everything, first of all.
Exactly.
And he kept being slow about movement because of doubt. And I was like, okay, well, now I know that it's possible to miss what God has, to literally die before the manifestation of that even comes. And so I was looking at that, and then in Joshua first chapter, verse number 10, I believe it says that Joshua tells the people to go to the camps. He tells the leader of the people to go to the camps and make provisions for yourself. For in 3 days we will cross the Jordan to take possession of the land that our God has promised us. And I say, hold on. Wait. This is the land of milk and honey that has been promised. This is the place that they've been given to live and be great in and all of this stuff outside of Egypt. And you telling me that, first of all, I got to make provisions for myself. I got to do something for myself. And then this land that's mine, I got to go take it. And I'm just looking like, God, what? Yeah. And at that point in time, it was like, so, yes, God is great and all of these things are happening, but you can die before you get that vision. You can literally not be here. And for me, it hits differently because I've had some very, very close people pass. Knowing that there was more in them. And a lot of times we just like, God just had to take them, and God just had, and it's like, no, man, you can die from being slow
and disobedient.
And it was just like, man, I just didn't want to be that. And then I also know that there are people in the church who they don't want to be it either, but they don't know that they supposed to do something.
That's right.
Because they waiting on God. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just gonna wait on God. He gonna make this happen, and I'm just here waiting on the Lord. And I hear that a lot. I got sister-in-laws now, and it's like, my man gonna come. It's like, if you just in the house, you just sitting in the house. What are you gonna knock on the door? You know what I'm saying? But it's just, those things we gotta do something. We gotta do something. And at the time, like, that was even me. Like, I was in a space, and God had been dealing with me on health. Like, all right, I've called you to something, and what I've called you to will kill you if you don't get healthy.
Wow.
If you don't get your body into some type of shape, because I was eating crazy, I was doing a lot, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, Jesus Christ, okay. I bet. So, but this the land was the children of Israel. It was their land. But yet we had to go in and we had to take it. And then you go on, and after they cross the Jordan, the angel of the Lord appears to Joshua, and he says, remove the shoes from your feet, for this is holy ground. Which says to me that the things that worked before ain't gonna work in this season. So you're gonna have to take off some stuff, right? And so that has to happen, and then you have to move on to Jericho. And it's like, now God give you all of these instructions that you got to follow to the T to even get the first city. And it's like, all right, Lord. So this is a non-ending thing of instruction, obedience, instruction, obedience. And it's like, yes, we praise and we're thankful for the manifestation of things, but you won't see it unless you do this.
That's right.
Unless you do this. Now, the good side about that is, if you do that, God has an obligation.
Yes.
He got an obligation.
He will not go back on his word to you.
He got to.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so,
he cannot do it.
For me there, I feel like that is an assignment for me, is to let people know, yo, you waiting on God, and God really already has done everything. Done after that 6th day, it didn't say nothing about God doing no more work.
Right.
You don't say he did nothing else. So he was done.
Yeah.
Now it's on you to get what he's showing you.
That's right.
And so, yeah, like, and I hate for it to sound as harsh as it does in a way, but it's like, you ain't got no choice.
You don't.
I put before you life or death.
That's it. Two choices. Two choices.
Yeah.
And it's up to you what you do with it.
Yeah.
Man, Pat, that's so awesome for real.
Yeah.
Because like we sit around and we wait for stuff to happen.
Yep.
And God has already given us his word.
Already done it.
He's given us, sometimes he's given us signs.
Yep.
He's given us all of these things that we can see him in.
Yep.
But we're sitting there thinking that it's going to come to us.
Right.
You know, some people are just, they want it easy for one. Some people don't want to work. They don't want to work and they want things easy. But then two, some people, they look at themselves so much that they can't see God in the things around them. They can't see, they can't hear God's voice because they're too busy looking at what they're doing, their limitations, what does my ability look like? What does my extent, what is the extent of what I can do?
Yeah.
And as God has already put this in, he's telling you,
Yeah.
if you just be obedient to him, walk where he wants you to walk, you're going to walk right into what he already got.
Right.
You just got to keep moving.
That's all all you got to do is keep moving.
That's it.
That's all you got to do.
Moving and it's there.
Yeah.
It's already there because the thing is God operates out of time. He ain't even in this time space that we got. He's not constrained by time. He's not restricted by time. He's not bound by time.
Come on now.
Are.
Now you preaching. You preaching. See, I can play the organ behind that. I can, you know what I'm saying? I can do that.
For real.
But that is
Man, for real. Like he's so
absolutely.
He's been, he is,
yes.
he will be, he's in all of that stuff.
Yes.
He's already there. So everything that we're walking towards, everything we're walking to, he done already filled that space.
Yes.
The Bible tells us over in the New Testament, Christ fills all things.
Yes.
He's in all things.
Yes.
He's been to the highest heaven.
Yes.
He's descended to the earth below.
Yes.
He's in everything. So he's been where you going.
Yes. Yeah.
Like just move.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just move. That's all you gotta do.
In John, Jesus says, he's talking to the disciples after he has died and risen. So they chilling. They just big chilling out there. And God come to them like, what are y'all doing? Jesus come to them, what are y'all doing? And he says something that is just so profound to me. And he says, I'm the vine. You are the branches. He that remains in me and I in him shall bear much fruit.
Yes.
But without me, you can do nothing.
Yes.
And it was just like, the connection has to be so real there. And I think what we run into is an issue of people not understanding or knowing or hearing the voice of God. And it's because it's not recognizable to them. It's because you are overly cluttered and you can't, you can't hear these things and see these things. The Bible says there's greater on the inside of us, right? And so a lot of times, not even a lot of times, I separate things in body, soul, and spirit. And what happens is, I think church culture has been ministering to the souls of men and missing the spirit. And it's like, it has made us feel good.
Yep.
But it's like, the problem is the soul ain't nothing but your conscience. So it ain't nothing but you talking back to you. So of course, everything from you is going to sound amazing. But if you haven't been feeding that spirit, if you haven't took the time to center yourself and get to a space where there is no outside of influences, right? So I'm going to tell you what's crazy. A tree. the vine is the trunk of a tree, and of course we know what a branch is. They're covered by bark, right? So I'm just researching. Bark. The only thing bark does is protects the tree from outside things. It repels insects. If it's raining, it makes sure that the true, because the tree is really the true wood on the inside. It repels insects. If it gets too cold outside, it keep the temperature. If it gets too, so if I'm a branch, I have to have a layer of bark around me, some kind of way where what's going on out here don't influence what's in here. And I feel like we've been influenced too much with what's going on out here. And that's not just saying the world. Right. That's saying what's going on out here when the praise team sing my favorite song. And what's going on out here when a pastor say something that strikes me emotionally and makes me want to cry. You have to get to the root. That root. Greater is he that is within me. You know what I'm saying? And so in order for you to be able to, really know God, you got to spend time with him. You got to spend time with him. Have a choice. Like even now, like my wife, she is now 5 months pregnant. So we got another one coming. But they're telling us, hey, look, make sure y'all talking. Like talk, around so that while the baby is developing, that they get used to your voice and they know who you are before they even come out. And it's like, if we gotta do that as children or to our children, it's like you gotta do the same thing with God. When you're in these spaces, and she's currently, it's a girl on the way, but she's currently in a space where she's surrounded by a bubble where none of the outside influences will influence her. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like you gotta know God. And like I say, and it's again, I say it's not optional.
It's not optional.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people confuse emotion with intimacy when it comes to God. You being intimate with a person means that you get close to them. You know them, they know you.
Yes.
Of course, God knows us. He knows every single hair on our head.
Yes.
But God wants us to know him in the same way. And it's only going to happen through his word. He's already written all this stuff down about himself.
It's there.
Like he's told us about himself. We have his biography
right there.
His autobiography is there.
Yeah.
And he's like, spend time with me. I'm showing you who I am. I want you to become close to me. Yes. That's why the church is the bride of Christ.
Yes.
He is married to the church. Like God wants us to be in communion with him like that.
Yes.
If we did that, if we weren't so centered around our feelings and our emotions and wanting those things to be just stimulated, then I feel like God's voice would be easier to hear too.
God's voice would be easier to hear,
you would already know what he expects.
For sure.
Because you would know him.
And we wouldn't see the flip-flop that I was mentioning.
Right.
The kingdom would be attractive at that point.
It would be attractive. Because you would see the value in it.
Yes.
You would see the beauty in the holiness.
Yeah.
All of those things would just intrigue you and it would appeal to you in a different way.
Right.
But I think going back to church culture, honestly, Pat, I think the disconnect sometimes has come from what we've been taught and the things that we got to unlearn. We were always told to fear God, like be scared of him because he's gonna get you.
Right.
And so a lot of times we don't see the beauty in his love, the beauty in his holiness, the beauty in his comfort, and the joy that you get from just being with him. God does not want to punish us.
Right.
He wants to bless us.
Right.
But
see though, the question is why don't we know that?
Yeah.
When it's a whole New Testament of repetitive, it's there. It's there.
It is there.
It's there, plain as day. You know what I'm saying? And that right there is like, okay, that is my whole thing. Like I'll say this, when I first started, and even now, like, let me know what the people like. Let me know when you start your church. First of all, God ain't gave me that.
Yeah, right.
But
there you go.
The next thing is like, as a pastor, I feel like that is your responsibility to let your people know the whole thing.
The whole of it.
Yes. Yeah, and I just feel like that's not happening.
It's not happening in a lot of places. That's why whenever you're in places, and I thank God for the teaching that I get. Yeah. Whenever you're in good places where you're getting good solid teaching, and it's a whole doctrine.
Yeah.
It's not just pieces here and there, or I'm telling you what I want you to know because I want you to submit to me because I have this narcissistic attitude and this is what I want you to do.
Right.
When it's not that, and it's Jesus loves you. He died for you. He wants you to turn away from your sin and turn to him and do things so he can bless your life.
Yep.
When it's that and all of that from front to back, start to finish, I think people will learn the value of intimacy over emotion. Yeah. They will learn to listen and take heed to the Spirit of God in them and not the flesh in them. You know, all of that will be plain to them, but we have an obligation too. I know we're all accountable as individuals, but at the same time, the Bible tells us that teachers will be held accountable for what they teach or for what they don't teach.
Yes, right.
And so,
right.
So, man, Pat, I'm really inspired by the things that you're saying, even being a young man, and walking in the calling, walking in obedience. That is so admirable. Yeah. It's so commendable because we need men to step up and do that. Yeah. We need them to say, hey, look, God is dope for real. Like
for real.
It's like it's real life. Like I'm living it. I'm living proof of it. Yeah. And you are living proof of that. I want to ask you this and just something that you can like leave with people because I know you mentioned like pursuing purpose. Yeah. And you know and the things that you've been putting out there, you've been talking about pursuing purpose. What would you tell somebody that pursuing purpose really looks like?
It first looks like getting yourself still. That's the first thing. The first thing is reprogramming your mind, right? The Bible says that our eyes are a lamp, right? And so what goes into our eyes, that those things matter because that is what we determine to be normal. Off camera, I was telling you about my life in Atlanta. Man, I was around a lot of rich people. Yeah. It was yacht parties and let's just fly to Miami and it was just a lot of that going on, right? And I began to see that as what was normal, right? But my life wasn't that. Yeah. And so it made me feel like I was less than. And I say all that to say that same feeling can happen if the majority of your time is spent on a phone, scrolling Instagram, looking at, the women who you feel like is in the gym every day. Yeah. They're not really doing that. You don't know, you know what I'm saying, that's not real or the guys or women or whatever that rent these houses just to shoot the video in and leave. Yep. That's not really, and you see those things and it is very easy for that to become your reality where you feel like that what I'm seeing is the norm. Yeah. That, if my body don't look like this, then I'm not this, or if my face don't look like this, I'm not this, or if, all of these things can happen. And so what you have to do for real is declutter yourself in a physical sense by not overdoing too much work. But mentally, before you even open the book up, give yourself a break from all of that. Yeah. From that space, you know what I'm saying? Give yourself a break from this world of Drake and Kendrick against each other, you know what I'm saying? Just allow yourself to kind of decompress, right? And when you decompress, I then do say pick the word up. Yeah. Pick the word up and just start anywhere. Yeah. You know, and read. I say take a chapter a day, but I believe that when you read the word with a clear mind, God will begin to speak to you. Yes. And when he begins to speak to you, do whatever you got to do to remember. If that means writing it down, if that means going into your notes on your phone, if that means recording it, whatever it means, do that. Yes. Yeah. And when you do that, follow those instructions to the T. follow them to the T. And understand that God knows the desires of your heart. And so God knows that the things that you want. God knows that you want the big house. He knows the car that you want. He knows the type of life that you desire to have. He knows all of these things. And he will give you those things. He will put you in position to have those things if you do what he says do. Now, on the flip side of that, if you do not do what he says do, know that you are living to die, and that's it.
Yeah. That's it.
And that's really how you and knowing that it's a decision, sit with your decision. That God is gracing you to wake up every day. But you making this decision to not do what he said do. Know that your only purpose for living at that point is to die. And it is going to be great. And if you believe in Jesus, yes, you are going to go to heaven, and that's going to be great. But while you are here on earth, if you expect to see the manifestation of what you have to do, you got to do more than just believe in Jesus. You got to do what God said do.
You got to be obedient.
That's it.
Period.
Yep.
Y'all hear this, man? Just want y'all to got to be obedient.
Got to be obedient.
And that's how you pursue.
That's it. Obedience over sacrifice.
Hey, that's it.
Yeah.
Man, I love it. I love your story.
Yeah.
I love your testimony. Love what God is doing for you, what he's doing through you. Know it's going to be a blessing to so many people. Already is.
Yeah.
It already is. You know that. And man, I'm praying for you. I'm praying that God continues to move you in the directions of the people that he has attached to you that are going to help them to see their purpose.
Definitely.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much.
No problem. This was great.
Here, man.
This was great.
Man, I enjoyed this conversation. I really did.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always blessed to sit down with people who really do understand the honor that comes in serving God.
Yeah.
The honor that comes in obeying God, and your life, it speaks to that.
Yeah.
So thank you so much again
for
being here. Y'all listen, make sure you keep tuning in to the Traditional Millennial, where conventional meets contemporary and faith fills the gaps.